Mum and I travelled up to Edinburgh on the Caledonia sleeper train, which is an overnight train, and they had this little club cart where you could go and get tea and drink, so we got some tea and played cards.
What do you think of it?
Oh my goodness, this is so cool.
This is like super cute. I know I've been raving about this for years.
You have been, but I can understand it. So we've got a bunk bed here. Top bunk is mine, bottom bunk Mum. The Caledonian sleeper, journey of a night time. There's like a light for reading. The view is of Euston Station. We should actually sleep with that open.
Because there's going to be the lowlands, loads of greenery.
The train left at 11:30, so we got into our pyjamas and I chose a book to read. And when we woke up the next morning, we were in Scotland. We got a taxi to the hotel. We were staying at the Kimpton, and the decor was so nice in this hotel. We are now here in Edinburgh and we've just checked into the room and it's so nice. Like, this hotel is stunning, so beautifully decorated. So Mum is just looking over the itinerary. This is the room, there are these beautiful pictures here. There are just so many nice little unique... Oh my gosh, look, they put an H.G. Wells book here. Let's have a look. Then we got ready to go out. We had a full day planned in Edinburgh, so we went and got coffee. I had a pumpkin spice cold brew, which was really good, and we just drank our coffees whilst walking around the city. So we were just walking along and we spotted this ginormous monument, and it turns out that this is one of the largest monuments dedicated to any writer in all of the world, and it's to Sir Walter Scott, who is of course one of the greatest Scottish writers. So we're going to go round and have a look. Sir Walter Scott was a greatly revered novelist, poet and historian, and according to Henry Coburn, Scotland never owed so much to one man, since he reignited an appreciation for Scottish life and culture. His books were read and enjoyed all over the world, and Goethe, who was funnily enough one of Scott's favourite writers, called him a genius who does not have an equal. We went to Urban Angel for brunch, which had loads of very good vegan and vegetarian options, and the smoothie bowls looked so good, but I ended up going for this hummus and chickpeas on toast, which was amazing. So we headed up this staircase to this courtyard where the Writers' Museum was, and on the paving stones were engraved these quotes from great Scottish writers. Absolutely love this one. "I care to live only to entice people to look at nature's loveliness." They had rooms dedicated to Robert Louis Stevenson, Walter Scott and Robert Burns, and we spent most time in the Walter Scott room. So these are things from Walter Scott's writing desk. You've got his inkstand, and look, there's a little candlestick holder and snuffer, and this is his quill. Still got some of the feather left, which is incredible. And then I think here we've got, oh, it's a silver letter seal. That's quite cool. Well, it's tiny. The last thing he said was, "My dear, be a good man, be virtuous, be religious, be a good man. Nothing else will give you any comfort when you come to lie here." Next we headed to the National Library. If you know me, you know that I can't resist the library. And they had this really cool exhibition on, which was about pen names. Oh, and I was just taking some notes of things that I found interesting in my notebook wherever we went. We also did a little bit of shopping this day. We found some really great vintage shops actually. They had so many great vintage shops. Most of the locations we were going to were totally literary though. Mum and I are currently in Canongate Kirkyard, which is a cemetery and church. Like, here is the church, and this apparently is the churchyard which inspired Charles Dickens when he was writing A Christmas Carol. Dickens frequently visited Edinburgh, and he got the name for Scrooge on a gravestone in this churchyard. The name on this gravestone was Ebenezer Lennox Scroggie, I think that's how you say it, and on the gravestone it described Scroggie as a meal man, but Dickens read this as mean man, and this is what inspired him to create Scrooge. The gravestone is sadly lost now though, so we weren't able to see it. What did you go for?
I went for an oat milk cappuccino.
And I went for an iced oat milk dirty chai latte, which I've never tried before. This was a bit too sweet for me, so I think next time I'd ask for it without sweetener, but I think I'd like it otherwise. So we're just going to walk to the bookshop now, which 2 different people have recommended actually. Armchair Books was beautiful. And we were quite tired then, so we headed back to the hotel and got ready for dinner. We ate at Baba, which was in the Kimpton Hotel, and it was all meze food, loads of flatbreads and hummus and salads, and it was just delicious. And also the decor again is so wonderfully vintage. After dinner we went for a walk, and as you can see the sky was just such a gorgeous colour. But we got back to the room quite early at about 8:30 because we were just so tired from the whole day. Just finished dinner. It was delicious. It was like meze platters, and we've walked away with some good ideas of recipes to try at home. And now we're just going on a walk, and it's lit up so beautifully. There are fairy lights everywhere, and just all of the buildings look stunning.
What was she filming? A pumpkin, of course.
Mum and I are back in the room now. We've been back for like an hour and a half.
Bed is heavy.
We were just so tired. Yeah, the train got in at 7, and so it's just been, I don't know, I think as well when you're adjusting to a new place, it's somehow more draining.
Well, we were like super excited, weren't we?
Yeah, I think it's also the excitement to get out of us.
Excitable.
And so we came back to the room, and we've been here since 8:30, and we were just planning out bits and pieces for tomorrow and getting excited about the places we're going to stop off on the way to Darnock, which is the next place we're going. And now we are sitting in bed with our notebooks, and we're going to do some journaling and writing about the things that we saw today. So Mum's already written like 2 pages.
Keep your nose out.
And I'm going to read it. And I'm going to write now. But we will see you tomorrow, and we're really excited to venture up to the Highlands tomorrow.
I'm going to be in the car for 4 hours now.
The hotel's been so nice, so it's going to be sad to leave it. This is our mini shared case for books and portable chargers.
We had breakfast at the hotel. One thing you should know about my mum is that she drinks a cappuccino every day, and she actually said that the almond milkshake cappuccino that she had this particular morning was the best cappuccino she had ever had.
It's like liquid almond croissant.
I had one too, and I can testify it was amazing, but literally for the rest of the trip we kept on talking about this cappuccino, and so I thought it was only right to tell you about it. We're in the hire car now. It's really nice as well. Mum's driving and it started raining, and we're now starting an hour-long journey up to Scone Castle, which we read about last night. We realised it was on the way. Actually only the beginnings as well. This is so close to Edinburgh and it's already like the river. Scone Palace! Nicely kept grass. It's weird being like seeing how green it is, considering how dry everything's been. And look, the cows.
Today's prices.
It's a nice surprise, isn't it?
Yeah. So we're currently here at Scone Palace, which is where the real Macbeth apparently lived. So Macbeth, the Scottish play, written by William Shakespeare, of course. I say that as if it's not obvious. So Macbeth was actually based on a real king. This is where the actual king lived, so I'm very, very excited to go and have a look. Mum was also saying that apparently this is where Scottish kings were crowned, so that's quite cool. I wasn't able to film inside, but it's mainly filled with Victorian items and set out a bit like a museum. I particularly loved the elaborate clocks which adorned every room. We also got to see Queen Victoria's boudoir from when she visited, and the hallway reception room was apparently used for curling when she was there. This is the abbey where the kings of Scotland would have been crowned, including Macbeth, which is very cool. I didn't realise, but the real King Macbeth was actually quite charitable and kind, nothing like the one Shakespeare writes about, and the real Duncan died because he was attempting to foil Macbeth. It makes you reread Shakespeare's Macbeth in a very different way and really emphasises just how political the play is. Oh my gosh, it's literally just in the middle. Just about the right height for you.
It is.
How cool is that? We've got classical music playing, the Pride and Prejudice soundtrack actually. Outside is beautiful, like, just there is so much mist and there is heather everywhere. Like, it's, you know, the landscape is half lilac, half green. All of the colours are just overlapping in the bottom. Basically, I downloaded some poetry by Sarah Scott and we're going to read this as we're driving.
Oh, you're
but I'm gonna read it aloud. This is what we're looking at.
This is what we're dealing with.
It's incredible. Like, and this is what I mean about the mottled landscape. So we're reading Lady of the Lake.
The noble stag was pausing now upon the mountain's southern brow, where broad extended far beneath the varied realms of fair Menteith. With anxious eye he wandered o'er mountain and meadow, moss and moor, and pondered refuge from his toil. By far Lockhard or Aberfoyle, but nearer was the copseed grey that waved and wept on Loch Acray, and mingled with the pine trees blue, on the bold cliffs of Benvenue, fresh figure with the hope returned, with flying foot the heath he spurned, held westward with unwearied race, and left behind the panting chase. We got to the hotel where the staff were genuinely just so lovely, and we had dinner at the hotel. We got 2 vegetarian dishes to share. One was a couscous and aubergine dish, and the other was this butternut squash and chickpeas, and both were delicious, especially the butternut squash.
So we're gonna go on a beach walk. I'm looking for my rain hat. Disaster strikes, I can't find a rain hat. Okay, well, I'll put my jacket over there. This is actually Dad's jacket for cycling that I brought it with. It's a very good waterproof. So, of course I'm gonna wear my rain hat. And I think they're ready to go.
The hotel was a stone's throw from the beach, and so we went down to the beach. So of course I brought my own tea. There is tea here, but I just don't like English breakfast tea.
Yeah.
I like every tea but English breakfast basically. So I packed some buttermint tea for me and my mum. Mum and I just sat in bed with our tea, and we both did some writing and some journaling and also some reading. I really love that my mum and I are both into this together, like we both have these as shared interests. We slept so well last night, and it's really nice and drizzly and rainy this morning and so cozy, and I'm just going to get dressed now. We're going to go walking this morning, and then I think we're going to explore Dornoch in the afternoon. I had a bowl of Scottish porridge for breakfast and also some green tea, and then we got our walking boots on to leave. Mum's just putting our shoes on. Very excited. This beach was honestly beautiful. Everything was so calm and it was so empty, and it started pouring down about halfway through the walk, which was actually perfectly amazing. The seagrass was wood with gold, it was ochre, dark yellow, a world of land and waves frothed and grey. Castle now, and everywhere we look it is beautiful. Like this way you've got the sea, then you've got this woodland behind us. Back here there are rolling hills and mist, and then in front of us of course something about
about being here, I just feel so at home. I feel emotional being here.
We went into Dornoch after that, and as you can see, it was really sunny randomly by this time. We went to this place called Milk and Honey. We both had the hummus and roasted vegetable sandwich. Milk and Honey was so nice, and they had vegan options. We went to the local bookshop, Dornoch Bookshop. Of course, you can't walk past a bookshop and not go inside, so we had a browse, and I ended up buying The Living Mountain by Nan Shepherd, which is set in the Cairngorms, which is where we were going the next day. We also just had a look around and went into some more shops. And then we went to hunt out the Witch's Stone. Can you see it? So in 1778, the last witch was burned in Scotland, and we're looking for the memorial stone, which is apparently in somebody's garden in one of these cottages. Yes, perfect.
Down here, turn left, and you will see it at the end of the road.
Not to be mean.
So we found it right at the end of the road. And it's to mark the death of Janet Vaughan, who was the final witch to be burned in Scotland. She was born with a very slight birth defect, and because of that she was more likely to be named as a witch. The reasons why people would be named as witches, I mean, they were insane. It was things like, if you cried a lot, you might be a witch.
I'm definitely a witch.
If you used a broomstick.
We went down to the beach next, and you could see this lighthouse from the other side. My mum was very fittingly reading To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf, which is set in the Isle of Skye. And I was writing some poetry instead. It's really not very good, but I'm really trying to share more of my writing, even though it's very daunting and makes me very nervous anytime I share anything. To be a bird, a gull, a wing, to fly the seas, to nest, to sing, to float in packs, in swarms, in shoals, but mostly lone, when skies are full, shifting through brine-coated breeze, with painted feathers, white-tipped leaves, and wings and hills on Tarbotness. It's too early for the lighthouse to catch my wings. The painted feathers don't catch or snag the light. The bulb just travels through hollow bones. The sky below, the sea above, the domes of sand, the white-capped sound. Round and over round, the sea, which I nested on which I will rest again in the morning, when the bulb is out, but I float now, my wings still hills, snapped off from the horizon like whale bones, or the skull of a gull found by a child making sandcastles.
So we've been writing down here. I just was writing a poem about some gulls.
Alright, so it's pretty cold, but we are going to go swimming in the sea, considering it's like, I mean, it's September, so it should be quite warm sea temperature.
It's not really freezing, it's just...
Oh no, not literally.
It's not
freezing.
ice cold, it's just probably not
it's
really
quite
swimming
chilly.
there. I made it up. It's really nice, your hair.
Your hair looks nice too.
Half an hour after that, we went out for dinner, and both of us were freezing by this point.
Lasped, I believe. Swimming. We both just have like a bit of a chill after going swimming. And
It was good fun though.
yeah, I'm glad that
definitely
I'm glad
worth
that
it.
we went.
I'm actually quite impressed that we managed to get ready in like 10 minutes after going in the freezing cold sea. After dinner, we got some tea, and this tea was honestly amazing. It was a Japanese cherry tea, and I'd never tried something like it. It was very subtle, very delicate. It tasted floral when you sipped it, but then the aftertaste was a lovely almond cherry flavour. And such a delicate flavour. And in the evening after dinner, again, we went for another walk. We just walked around Dornoch and went and saw the beautiful church. So we're on to Thursday now, and we left the hotel and drove to Inverness on our way down to the Cairngorms.
They're so cute, the roses around the
As
door.
I say, my mum gets a cappuccino every day, so we went and got coffee, and I definitely drank more coffee this week than I ever have done before. And then we went to Leakey's bookshop, which I had heard such good things about. We're currently in Inverness, we're just about to leave, and we went to Leakey's bookshop, which was amazing. If you're in Inverness, you have to go. It's like, it's just gorgeous. The closest I can think of is Daunt Books in London, which is my favourite bookshop because it's got like different tiers and a balcony. They've got so many vintage classic books. So the two books I got are the selected essays of Hilaire Belloc, Parisian writer who moved to London. The second one is Bloomsbury by Quentin Bell. It's kind of a biography of the Bloomsbury group.
That's like a really nice one with pictures.
Genuinely though, why don't more adult books have illustrations in?
And also maps, we've talked about this before.
Yeah,
map
literary
of
maps.
where each character lives.
Like
I don't
family
know.
trees as
yeah,
well.
family trees.
Just like using media to help tell the story. I think it's so
because some people are more visual,
engaging.
aren't they?
It helps to encourage people who usually would watch TV, or like that's their default because they're more visual.
Yeah.
They can go for books instead because
Exactly.
there's more visual elements. It's not really even really raining. It's more drizzly, which is nice.
We like a bit of drizzle, don't we?
We just parked in a car park. Then we were back in the car and we drove down to Loch Ness and we put it in the sat nav, and it ended up taking us here,
It's Loch Ness view.
which we found quite funny.
There's Loch Ness. I suppose it's aptly named that address, Loch Ness view.
Yeah.
I'm on a fault line here, that's crazy.
Yeah, did you know that Loch Ness was on a plate boundary? Because I didn't, and I found that very cool. We ended up going on a woodland walk, which was absolutely enchanting. Again, I wanted to share something that I'd written. A pool of water off the path, barely the size of a cradle. Between boulders, lichen-licked, the malachite rock sits, Artemis stepped between branches of fir. Locked with moss and water, still stone as Diana's doe. But then the light. It catches, flickers, dies as you pass. Flickers, dribbles, drips, silver, then brown, then black. Caught between tree trunks. Now the doe sleeps, but it shall smile again, and more will come to cradle in tomorrow's morning daylight.
We happened across this woodland trail and we thought we'd go on it. We thought we'd be able to see Loch Ness on it, but we haven't managed to, so we think we might have taken a wrong turn somewhere. It just feels enchanted.
This is the walk we went on, Farragate. Then we were back in the car for another 2 hours of driving. We did stop off though to see these Highland cows. This was on our list of the things we really wanted to see while we were in Scotland, and my mum saw them and stopped the car immediately. I was surprised at how unfazed they were by us as well.
So we're at Falls of Foyers. We just dropped off here to get some stamps from the post office. Because it's there. There's a walk that goes down here, and Robert Burns described this particular walk and the waterfalls down here in one of his poems, which is quite cool. The view is incredible, like amazing. That there is Loch Ness. And we kind of wish now that we'd gone on that walk instead, but we really enjoyed the walk we went on, and I would really recommend going on that forest walk that we did go on.
I also want to read you this one by Robert Burns. Among the heathy hills and ragged woods, the roaring fires pours his mossy floods, till full he dashes on the rocky mounds, where through a shapeless breach his stream resounds. As high in air the bursting torrents flow, as deep recoiling surges foam below. Prone down the rock the whitening sheet descends, and viewless echoes ear astonished rends. Dim seen, through rising mists and ceaseless showers, the hoary cavern, wide surrounding laws. Still through the gap the struggling river toils, and still below the horrid cauldron boils. Eventually we got to the hotel. Honestly and truthfully, I think this is the nicest place I've ever stayed. The host of this B&B, she was just so friendly, so welcoming, and my family have already decided that we're going to go back to this B&B at some point in the future because we loved our stay there so much. When we got there, Esther, who owns the B&B, got us some tea, so we had some peppermint tea. And we sat downstairs in her library area, which is like a communal area for guests, and you're welcome to borrow the book. A home library is always a good idea. There was also this other room with a wine cellar and this vintage design. So we're staying at the Viewmont Boutique B&B in the Cairngorm National Park, and this room is incredible. French style chairs, fireplace. But the really incredible thing is this here, which is the view, which looks right out over the hills. Some snacks and things, and how thoughtful. She included these vegan snacks because she knew I was vegan. So we went out for dinner, my mum and me, which was delicious. We had this open pasta dish. Then here we are on Friday, and I didn't really film much on Friday because I've actually filmed a separate video with all of the stuff that I did this particular day. But my mum and I agreed that this was probably our favourite day of the trip. We went hiking, and let me tell you, the Cairngorm Mountains are just something else. This area is my favourite that we visited. Look, Esther made us these sandwiches to take out on the walk, so I had a cashew butter and banana one. And we sat down to read for a bit. So I told you before that I bought The Living Mountain by Nan Shepherd, and I was reading The Living Mountain here. I thought it would be the perfect location to read it because each chapter is basically describing a different element of the Cairngorm Mountains, which you notice and become observant to when you've hiked them many times, which she has. And even though it was only my first time hiking them, there are still some elements that I could definitely relate to being there in the location. After our walk, we went into this bookshop in King UC, and yes, another bookshop. We couldn't resist walking past it. I didn't actually get anything this time, but my mum got a book of poems to read aloud. And then we headed back to the B&B, and again Esther made us some tea, which was so nice of her. We chatted with her and her brother for a while and also read. We left the B&B on Saturday morning, and I'm really sorry that there is just so little footage from today. There was quite a lot of traffic, and so we were driving for most of the day, but actually that's not much to complain about because the views are so great as you're driving, like my mum said the same. But then we got back to Edinburgh and we walked around the city. Also went for dinner at Holy Cow, which is an all-vegan restaurant, and I got their carrot salmon on toast, which actually tasted just like salmon. And then we got an Oreo cheesecake to share for dessert. And then finally we're here on Sunday, which is the final day of our trip. Our last hotel was the Edinburgh Hotel, which again was so nice. We honestly loved all of the hotels that we stayed in this week. Again, very friendly staff. We went to the Naked Bakery to get some breakfast. Again, look at this, an almond milk cappuccino. I had so much coffee this week. And then we did a little bit of shopping and just looked around the vintage shops, and they also had this Christmas shop. And we went for lunch at Hula Juice Bar, which is again has lots of vegan options, and I went for their berry smoothie bowl. And then next we went to the National Gallery of Scotland. They had an Impressionists exhibition on, like a limited exhibition, which looked amazing. I don't like all of the work from the Impressionists. I'm not a big fan of Seurat, for example, but I really like Van Gogh and Degas. We just saw the Impressionists exhibition at the Scottish National Gallery. There was some Monet in there too, so I'd recommend the exhibition if you're around Edinburgh. We stayed there for about an hour, and then we went and sat in this park and we did some more writing. Edinburgh just has so much going on. There's a very tangible sense of culture, so it just felt like there was so much to see, and I felt so inspired being there. One thing that this trip's taught me actually is that I really need to make an effort to go to more galleries and museums, because whenever I visit one I walk away feeling inspired, and I love visiting them, and yet I don't really make the time for going as much as I should. And so one of my resolutions from coming back from Scotland is to try and go to a gallery or a museum once a week or once a fortnight. I always make resolutions when I go away somewhere. Then my mum wanted another coffee, so we went out to this cafe, and this was called the Milk Pail. Next we went to the National Museum of Scotland, and we definitely got here later than we should have got there, because we didn't have very long at all to look around. I could have spent a good 4 or 5 hours in here. This is really close to the entrance as well. It's the Millennium Clock. Each layer of the clock represents a different stage in the 20th century. Which is so cool. I really like clocks. It's something I'm just very interested in.
We're in the fashion section of the museum.
I also really enjoyed looking at the Victorian and Regency clothing that they had in this exhibition. And we found Dolly the sheep, which is quite cool.
This is one of the oldest steam locomotives from 1813.
Then we went back to the Kirkyard Greyfriars churchyard and cemetery that we visited on our first day, because we were told that J.K. Rowling had found the name Tom Riddle at this graveyard, and so we wanted to seek out that gravestone. It was also so atmospheric in the rain. so I'm really glad that we came back, and we ended up again just sitting down and writing for a really long time and reading as well, because we had some time to kill before our train. And then for dinner we went back to Holy Cow, where we went last night. Burgers. Mum's gone for a portobello mushroom burger, and I've got their no fish burger. Here's the fridge. For dessert we got this lime and coconut drizzle cake. We shared this because we were both really full after the burgers, and it was really delicious.
I think I am just falling more and more in love with this city.
Everything about Edinburgh is
Especially in the rain. It's just stunning in the rain.
The Eden Lock Hotel has this communal workspace downstairs, and so they said that we could come and sit here whilst we were waiting for our train, because it was at 11:30 at night, so it was quite late. So I read for a bit. I also replied to some emails, made a plan for next week, and typed up the poems that I'd handwritten this holiday. And then we went back to the sleeper train and I finished the Living Mountain in bed. So that brings us to the end of this video and this trip. It was honestly the most incredible trip, and I am so grateful to Visit Scotland for having us and for letting us visit during their year of stories, this year of celebrating Scottish culture, Scottish stories. I can't wait to visit again, genuinely. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope that you have a productive week.